بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, this will be the last lesson for part 2. We're going to be finishing off with the qualities without opposites. So this is the permanent qualities of the letters without opposites. Last 2 lessons we covered the permanent qualities with opposites, and we looked at four of the sifat. And inshallah, this lesson inshallah will complete by looking at the qualities without opposites. Inshallah, the 7 qualities without opposites. Bismillah. Permanent characteristics without opposites. Okay, so remember, these are the permanent characteristics without opposites. So these qualities are always there, and they are never removed from the letter when you pronounce them. So the first one is as-safir, whistle. These are the letters Sad, Zay, Sin. These are the letters that have this quality of as-safir. Safir means sharp whistle sound, and this is from behind the front teeth, unlike the letter S. Okay, so the letter S in English, if it has articulation points in English, S, if it's sort of more through the teeth. Okay, it's very sharp sound. But Sad, Zay, and Sin come from behind the plates of the front teeth. Okay, the bottom teeth and the front. Okay, so it's mainly the bottom teeth. The ulama actually have given a name to each of these letters because they resemble the sound that these letters make. So each bird, like the bird beginning with Sad in Arabic, of course, there's a bird that begins with Sad, and the sound it makes actually is like this. And also Zay, there's a bird, I believe, beginning with Zay that makes a z, like sort of a buzzing sound, and one which is like this that makes a very sharp sound, and it starts with Sin. This is Wallahu alam, this is what I've heard, that this is what's happened. But this might be homework for you to find out what the names of these birds are. But anyway, this safir is this sharp whistly sound. So when we read as, yeah, we will make these letters have the quality of this whistly sound. Only these letters, okay. Of course, Sad and Sin, we have to remember to use the other qualities, of course, along with the new ones you learn, inshallah. So for example, we know Sad and Sin also have the quality of hams, okay, the quality of air. So as, whereas Zay has the quality of jahr, yeah, where there's a blockage of this air coming out. So we have to make sure we say as, otherwise Aziz will be sounding like Sin, okay. The z will sound like a s if we continue to put the air into the z. If we don't block the air coming out, it will sound like a Sin. So just remember to use all of the other sifat with these letters, okay, inshallah. Bismillah. The next permanent characteristic without opposite is Leen. Leen, softness. Now this softness is in the pronunciation. Now let's not get confused with waw mad and ya mad. If you remember, when we looked at al-jawf, the organ of speech al-jawf, and we said the letters alif, waw, ya, when they are sakin and they have a preceding haraka before them. And if you remember, I said waw would have the preceding haraka is a dhamma, okay, a dhamma. And for ya, the preceding haraka is a kasra, and for alif it was a fatha, okay. So but in these 2 cases, those in the case of waw and ya for mad, their preceding harakas are different to what we are talking about here, okay. So we're not going to get confused with the sounds oo and e. This is something completely different, okay. These are waw and ya sakin, and in the mushaf you would see in the Qur'an these waw and ya will have a little circle like this, which is a sukoon on top, okay. Whereas waw and ya mad, the mud letters will have nothing, absolutely nothing on them. So that's how you can distinguish them too. That's another little little thing you can look out for. So these letters, waw, sukoon, preceding letter will have fatha. Ya, sukoon, preceding letter will have a fatha again. Just these two letters. And when we say them, there's ease. They're called gentle letters because there's ease in the way we pronounce them. Okay, a characteristic cast on the vowel-less waw and ya preceded by a fatha due to the ease of it flowing out from its articulation point. So ay, aw, ay, aw is very easily said. And the example here is in Surah Quraysh when we say li'ilafi Quraysh. Okay, and make sure we don't say Quraysh like too much of the ya, because it's not a yamad. When we say the yamad, we say alameen. That's good, we can hear the ya. But here the ya shouldn't be so prominent. It's a nice smooth Quraysh, Quraysh, li'ilafi Quraysh. Okay, nice smooth. And with for the waw example, same Surah Quraysh. Khawf. It's not khawf. Not too much of the khawf where the lips are really rounded so much and there's so much emphasis on the waw. It's nice and smooth. Khawf. Okay. Whereas in the waw mud, when the waw is sakin and preceded by dhamma, which comes out from al-jawf, that one, the waw is quite prominent. So ya'maloon, you hear the waw. That's fine. But here, al-leen, when the letters are in this leen state, we say them smoothly. Khawf. Okay. Wa amanahum min khawf. Khawf, not khawf. Yeah. Okay. Inshallah. So these are things, inshallah, we will practice. The next one, the next permanent quality without opposite is al-inhiraf, which means drifting. This is the drifting, and the letters are lam and ra, and their articulation point is very, very close. If you remember, these are letters that come from the tip of the tongue, the top and the tip of the tongue. Drifting of the sound of the letter due to incomplete running of the sound caused by the tongue being blocked from its path. Okay, so this is an incomplete running of the sound. And if you remember when I was talking about when we talked about ar-khawa, ash-shidda, al-tawassut, when we looked at al-tawassut, these were the letters where there's a partial running and a partial blockage of the sound of the letter. Okay, and I did mention to you then that the reason was actually this al-inhiraf. There's a drifting of sound. Bismillah. So if we look at lam, for example, here, if you see the tongue touches, so it's the front edges and the top part, the tip of the tongue will be touching the gums. Okay, the gum lining inside. Okay, so when you say al, okay, it's not the English l. Okay, so the tongue is not elevated. It's not a letter of istila. We're gonna have the tongue, if you see, is down. So when you say al, layl, al. Now you notice when you say al, there's the tongue, because it's hitting the there's a blockage of sound when the tongue meets and touches this articulation point. Okay, so what happens due to this blockage? The sound has to deviate from the left and the right sides of the tongue. Okay, so al, and this deviation is al-inhiraf. Okay, and therefore this letter was is a letter of tawassut because there is partial running and partial blockage, and this blockage is because lam al, because of this articulation point, that because we say al and the tongue sort of blocks the sound. Okay, the sound has to come out from somewhere, so it comes out from the left and right of the sides of the tongue. Okay, and therefore there's a partial running and partial blockage of the sound there, and therefore it can't be letter of rikhawa, it's a letter of tawassut. Okay, and also the ra is actually the opposite. Ra, al. When the tip touches the gums, the gums behind the front two incisors, the top incisors, L, L. What happens is that the tongue is concaved because we're trying to avoid the trilling. L, L, the trilling, the r, we're going to avoid that. And due to that, L, L, L. If you notice, the tongue is concaved. Okay, so the sound gets sort of trapped in. But to complete the sound, there's a blockage with the tongue touching its articulation point, L, L. But we have to say the sound, the letter completely, but because it is blockage, the sound is partially run and partially blocked. Okay, and it's blocked within. Whereas lam, the sound comes out from the sides of the tongue. Okay, and this is how the drifting is done. Okay, so the drifting, and it's also known as deviation also. This sifat, this sifa. Okay, so alhamdulillah, I hope that was inshallah clear. The fourth one is at-takrar, and this is pretty simple, repetition. This is for the letter r, ar, ar. Doing too much of the ar is the only attribute to be avoided. Okay, so this is something we have to really avoid. Light trilling of the tongue due to its tight articulation point. Like what we said before, the tongue is because of its articulation point, we have to avoid the trilling. Therefore, we have to the sound gets trapped in l, l, l. The tongue is concaved and l, l. And if you let it loose, l, l. This is what can happen, and this is not allowed. Okay, inshallah. So so Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Ra, Ra, Ra. Bismillah. The fifth one is At-Tafashi, and this is a quality for sheen. It means spreading. Sh, ash, ashhadu. Okay, وَبَشِّرِ الَّذِينَ. Spreading or spraying air when pronouncing this letter. Only sheen has this quality. Okay, so we have to make sure that there's not an overbite, because sometimes it can sound like ash, like something different. So it's just a simple sheen comes from the middle of the tongue. Ash, she, she, she. Okay, so not a letter where lots of mistakes are made, but this is a quality of sheen, and no other letter has that quality. Number 6, al-istitalah, which means lengthening. And this lengthening is for only the letter dad. What does this mean? The slight pushing of the tongue forward. So there's a pushing of the tongue forward after it collides at its articulation point, pushing it to the makhraj of lam. Okay, so when we say dad with the sukoon, al, al. Now if you remember, dad comes from the posterior part of the tongue, the back of the tongue, the back 2/3 of the tongue. Okay, and the tongue tip, it touches. There's no pressure. There's no pressure, but it touches the makhraj of lam. So the tip is touching near the end and aligning with the front teeth. Okay, so al, dad, but the pressure is at the back of the tongue, right? Al, because dad is not like dal. Dal comes from the tip of the tongue, right? Dad comes from the back. We have to remember this. And also, dad is letter of itbaq, which means the tongue. There's lots of closure. There's lots of parts of the tongue. It's touching the top part of the palate. Also, the tongue is raised. Al-Istitalah, the quality of al-Istitalah, right? And then we have to make it when we say it. When we say it with the sukoon, the tongue is pushed forward. Okay, so when we say this, this letter al, to complete it, there's a natural time it takes to say it, and also we have to make sure that we don't let go of the tongue at the end, because it sounds like a dal. Okay, so al, if you say al, that's wrong. Al, and you hold on to it. Al, okay. Wal ard, wal ard, and you hold the dad. You can't go wal ard, no, wal ard. Okay, walad, thamanid, and you hold the dad. Okay, so, and there's a natural pushing forward, and that's all it's that's all that means. Istitalah is just this lengthening that happens naturally, and there's no forced pushing here. Okay, forced pushing will result in the letter sounding like something else. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so the last one is al-Gunnah, nasalization, and these are for the letters Noon and Mim. None of the other Arabic letters will have Noon, will have a nasal sound, apart from when we're looking at the rules. When we have certain rules, we will be doing. We will need a Gunnah. But the nasal sound emitted from the nose attached to these two letters. Okay, so it's just these two letters it's attached to, and it will be covered more in detail in later lessons. There's various grades of nasalization also. So there's like a heavy Gunnah, and then there's a lighter Gunnah, and all of this inshallah will be coming when we're looking at the rules inshallah. One thing to note, very important, is because Noon and Mim are the only letters where the Gunnah is attached. Okay, the nasal sound is attached. Now please be careful when you recite Qur'an. Make sure that we remove this nasal sound from other letters. Okay, because what happens is there's a tendency of people reading through the nose, and it's not right. Okay, so we have to alhamdulillah, like for reading like this Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, it's not right, because all the sound, and especially letters of hams, won't be said correctly. Okay, hams needs a lot of air, and when the air is expelling from the nose, you're not giving the full right to these letters of hams also. And apart from that, it's not right. It's not commendable. It's not correct. Okay, inshallah. So that's something to please practice and look out for. So inshallah, alhamdulillah, we will be continuing on to part 3. Inshallah, that will be more of a practical part. We will be reading, and inshallah you'll be reading with me. And I hope you can, if there's any questions, you can obviously put them in the comments. And inshallah, I have my email also in the video description, inshallah. And if there's any questions you have, please feel free to ask. So inshallah, we'll end this part with a beautiful hadith reminder. Abu Huraira and Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, may Allah be pleased with them, reported, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when a group of people assemble for the remembrance of Allah, the angels surround them with their wings. Allah's mercy envelops them, sakina or tranquility descends upon them, and Allah makes a mention of them. Subhanallah. Allah makes a mention of them before those who are near Him. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah. I make dua that Allah accepts these meetings, these lessons, as one of these gatherings where we are remembering Allah, and Allah envelops us with His sakina and gives us this beautiful tranquility and accepts it from us. Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen. So inshallah we'll meet next time with part 3, beginner's level, how to read Al-Qur'an. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.